Vikings play the Bears tonight. What are the keys to victory? We're going to break that down, talk about how the Vikings can come out of Monday Night Football with their second primetime win of the season, heading into the bye week. We're going to have a little bit of fun here tonight as the Vikings play on Monday Night Football. Welcome to the Real Forno Show.
Welcome to the Real Forno Show, hosted by Tyler Forness, the managing editor of USA Today's Vikings Wire, writer for the College Football Network, publisher of Substack Run In Shooter, host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, as well as a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Real Forno Show here on Vikings First and SKOL. Ladies and gentlemen, Vikings play a football game tonight. We are here to break it all down. I am your host, Tyler Forness. With me, as always, in the top right corner, he is producer Dave, and he has a properly themed English schoolboy hat on today because it's Vikings game day. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic for this Monday. We have football tonight, and that's always a good thing.
And if I end up moving from this chair, you will be able to get a nice view of Mr. Odie, who is in the room until my wife gets home from work in about a half an hour. And Eclair is downstairs sleeping because those seizure medications are kicking her keister. But she's my little fighter. Look, Vikings play tonight, and we're going to talk all about it. We're not going to talk a lot about the past. We're going to talk about projecting moving forward. I want to start here, Dave. Let's talk about the inactives for tonight. And I found the inactive list a little interesting. So let's start at the top. Here are the players not playing tonight. We'll start with Jaron Hall. Hall is the emergency third quarterback. So he only plays if Dobbs and Mullins both get hurt. Not the craziest situation. Doesn't happen often. You see two quarterbacks get hurt in a game, but you never know. Happened to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game last year. This is why the rule was brought back after being a thing earlier on. Nick Muse, tight end, has been inactive every single game. They want to keep him on the roster because they do value him, and having him on the roster is a net benefit, especially with how much they really wanted to run those 12 personnel sets early. They haven't run them as much as we thought they would, but it's good to have on the roster. Inside linebacker Nick Vigil, and guard Chris Reed, and tackle Hakeem Adeniji. So we're looking at multiple players who really haven't played much. Reed was only activated earlier this week from the NFI list. He's been on NFI since the first day of camp, and that's non-football injury. So the way they classify this is if your injury was suffered walking down the street and you break your foot, that's not a football injury. It did not get suffered in the building, did not get suffered on the field. So that's how they classify it. Rookies coming in with injuries also get placed on the NFI list. Hendon Hooker for the Detroit Lions is on the NFI list right now. So Reed hasn't not played a single down. Adeniji has, I believe he got in one game with special teams, but that's it. And Vigil, well, they have Anthony Barr in the practice squad right now, so they're not going to have him play. But the big one is Caleb Evans. And Evans is dealing with a calf injury right now. And honestly, I think it's smart to hold him out because he did not practice on Wednesday and then slowly progressed throughout the week. But it's a calf. Calves are like hamstrings, except more finicky and fickle. You want to make sure that they're fully healthy because a pulled calf could end up turning into a ruptured Achilles tendon. You don't want to mess with that. So as much as we needed him last week, I don't think we'll need him as much this week because the idea of Caleb Evans last week was to shut down Cortland Sutton, the big power forward wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Well, now you're going to have a lot smaller guys. Chase Claypool's not on this team anymore. It's guys like DJ Moore, and you can beat those guys with quickness. You can beat those guys with technique and skill. Caleb Evans has those things, but you don't need his size. And I think if there was a team where he couldn't play against, I think this is probably the one. The biggest takeaway here, Brian Asamoah is playing after a 4-game absence, and Lewis Cine is also back after a 4-game absence. Cine was injured with a hamstring, but then he kept being a healthy scratch. And the reason why he was a healthy scratch is something interesting. The Vikings have a very deep safety room, but he's not a guy that you want to play special teams. That is why, in my opinion, you're seeing Jay Ward play over him. And it's obvious that Theo Jackson's passed him on the depth chart, but not having him play or even suit up is the result of him not really being a special teams guy. And he struggled in special teams during camp, the limited reps that we saw. But at the end of the day, if you can't play special teams as a depth guy, which is right now is what Lewisine is, for better or worse, you're not going to suit up. And like, that's fine. It's not the end of the world, but you definitely want him to be playing. And he's going to get a chance to play tonight. And Dave, very interesting point here this evening. 3 active cornerbacks. 3. I'm not counting Najee Thompson. The Vikings are only dressing 3 cornerbacks.
That's because they play with a lot of safeties.
I know, but it's very interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's actually something I'm going to tweet out right now because I just realized it.
It's because they're happy to move safeties into those positions if necessary, and that's why they do it. It's actually a pretty smart move if you have the people with the ability to do such, and they do. And you're looking down, there he goes towards the door. He's like, camera, let me get away from him.
That was Eclair. I have to go make sure she's okay.
Okay, you do that. And I'll welcome everybody here who's in the chat. Delton, Justin, Mafia, Aaron. Hey, Aaron. Yes, hamstrings are touchy, and they want to be. This is what happens when you have AI cameras. And you want them to be 100%. Expect JJ back after the bye for the Raiders game. Gary, good to see you. Seeing is stealing. You might call it that, but hopefully he eventually develops, or it's a complete waste. Mr. Bob Swede, how you doing, buddy? And as for where is Mary, I think she's spending a whole lot of time with her great-grandson. She had that happen about a month ago, and now she's down visiting. So I think that's where she's at. That's why we miss her so much. Hi, Christopher. Welcome to the show, and I hope I answered your question that JJ will be back for the Raiders game. Now, thank you, Davey, for a comment on my hat. It is a Boston Scally hat, and it's wool. It's a little chilly here in Texas today. We woke up, it was a brisk 37, which freezes the balls off of Texans. Now, they aren't used to the, Arctic North. They're not used to North Dakota or Minnesota and the cold you get there. These people are used to warm weather, and when it gets that cold, they're like, brrr. So.
Sorry about that. Eclair, so she's struggling right now. She's got, it's undiagnosed, but epilepsy, like if you have seizures, you're like automatically epileptic, but she got herself stuck under a chair and actually pushed the chair over. So like under like a bar stool, and she was like pushing forward, and she actually flipped the bar stool over her. So I brought her up, and she's sleeping in my lap right now. But yeah, she's just a sweet girl. But it's been a rough one. And if we have to get her like an MRI or something, it's going to be like $3,000 to $5,000. So we're hoping we don't have to go that far, but we don't know yet. So sorry about leaving, but as you guys know, the dogs are everything to us. So now she's resting on my lap. It just sucks because she hasn't eaten yet either today. And that's like what's causing a lot of these seizure activities from my own perspective, because it's always right before feeding time, or she hasn't eaten in a while. Sunday, she ate like a queen. Nothing. So trying to get it all adjusted. Yeah. But it's also, she doesn't want to eat, and that's part of the issue. But we're making it work, and she's just a sweet girl. I'm glad I at least got to show her off a little bit. Odie is, I don't know, you may have saw her as we walked out of my messy office. But let's talk about what we're going to see here moving forward from these Vikings. And the Vikings are in an interesting place, and it's even more interesting because of the Green Bay Packers. They gifted the Vikings a Detroit Lions loss on Thanksgiving Day. What a blessing that is. And it was weird to cheer for the Packers.
I tend to view that as the Lions gifting the Packers a win. I don't like giving credit to the Packers no matter what.
What I mean is the Lions lost was a gift from the Packers. Like it's that was one of those games where you can make it a positive either way, whether it be the Viking, like for the Vikings in the wild card, the Vikings in the division. So like that's good, but the Lions losing is better because we would like to win the NFC North, and it's plausible. The Vikings have a pretty easy schedule here coming up, and now they can get within a game and a half. And that game's going to be made up this next week. So if the Lions lose next week, the Vikings will be one game back in the NFC North. We'll find out if that ends up coming to fruition, and I'm really excited to see. But I will also say that they still have to get past the Chicago Bears. And the Bears, look, they're not a good team, but they're not going to be easy outs either. They played the Lions really hard this past week, and they took them to the limit. They can take the Vikings to the limit too. That doesn't mean that it's going to be a guaranteed loss, but you have to take it seriously. It's Monday Night Football. So let's talk about like my keys to the game. And we're going to start here, key point 5, because there really isn't a whole lot we can talk about. They've tried everything. It's just not working. They need to hold on to the football. Those are Dave's 5 keys. Hold on to the football. Just say that 5 times fast. All of a sudden, Biggie Smalls is going to jump out of your mirror.
Simpson writing it on the chalkboard. Hold on to the football. Yep. Hold on to the football. Hold on to the football.
And I think Delton says it right. It doesn't matter. It's a divisional game. Nothing matters when it's a divisional game. Absolutely. Because when it's a divisional game, you got to show up and you have to bring your best. If you don't, that is when things happen. That is when you can get upset. And the Vikings are going to need to bring their best because you know what? Justin Fields has been playing pretty well in the last 2 games since he came back. I think he's 3rd in EPA, like 4th in success rate. Those metrics may be a tad off, but they're very high. What's the reason for that? I don't know. I haven't been able to dive super deep into the film of the Chicago Bears, but I will tell you this. You got to be able to contain him in the pocket, and that's my first key. Contain Justin Fields inside the pocket. And the Vikings have done a pretty good job against mobile quarterbacks this year. They're not perfect. They have allowed these quarterbacks to be able to beat you down the field. But what they are doing is preventing them from running around and making plays outside of structure. Patrick Mahomes wasn't allowed to do it. Jalen Hurts wasn't allowed to do it. Justin Herbert wasn't allowed to do it. They're not going to let Justin Fields do it to them either. Gary, thank you. The Moon jerseys are probably my 2 favorite items that I have in this house. I love those things. High recommend Fan HQ. It's where I get my framing done. And I don't know how much they'll blitz. I would guess somewhere in like the 30 to 35% range, which is still like the highest rate in the league on average. But I don't think they're going to blitz him 50, 60, 70, or 80%. Because Fields hasn't shown enough to be able to attack down the field and beat your blitzes. So you have to be smart with your pressure and you have to contain. So here's how players will pressure with contain. So they will, instead of just trying to rush around the edge. So like when you do that, here's the tackle. All right. Rusher comes all the way around. Well, when he does right here, that B gap, which is between the guard and the tackle, that opens up and the quarterback can take off. When you rush with contain, you're basically trying to hold your spot and get pressure on the quarterback, usually with a bull rush. Or you just kind of stand them up, and then if they move, you can shed and be able to attack from there. So it's essentially playing it smart. You're playing position rather than just being aggressive and all out attacking. And when you face a guy who can create outside of structure, like Fields can, like Mahomes can, that's important because now you're not allowing them to do what makes them special. You're just forcing them to do little things that will, those little things, they'll have to be able to do it from inside the pocket. Well, if there's nothing there, where can they go? They really can't go anywhere. And that's the net benefit. It takes cohesion from the front to the back end to be able to take advantage of some of those things. And the Vikings have been able to trust their back end this season because of the depth in that safety room, because of the pass rush. They're doing a really good job overall, but they're going to have to do it again against Justin Fields to limit his ability to make plays with his legs.
Christopher, you are right. We do not have that typical good bull rush, the interior guys that can push the pocket and things like that. Flores has to make up for that by messing with their mind, having 8-9 guys up on the line, so they have to figure out who they have to block. And that's how he gets around that lack of defensive interior studs that can just absolutely push the guys back.
Mm-hmm. All right. Before we go to the second, third, fourth, and fifth takes, I just want to remind everybody, hey, thank you, everybody, for joining here tonight. Delton, I would like you to clarify your question. What do you mean, what's up with the Bears injury list? I'm not quite sure what you're saying, but I'd like to be able to answer. If you like what you're seeing, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and consider joining as a premium subscriber. We're going to have a lot of content coming up for draft season. We're going to have more coming out here down the line, and it's going to be worth your money. And it's a great way to financially support the show. You can also do super chats, but we want to be able to give you more value for your dollar. And that's why we're talking about the subscription. All right. And if you don't have the money to spare, I understand. We're in a basic recession right now. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. Helps us just the same, and we greatly appreciate it. And don't forget about what we have on podcast. Justin from Purple and Gold for Days does a weekly podcast for us. I believe that comes out Tuesday mornings, correct?
He does two of them. Yes, we get one generally during the middle of the week, the midweek musings, and then we generally get one on the day of or the day prior to the game. We had one this morning. Normally comes out on like Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm. So you want to check out the podcast feed, because the podcast feed is going to have a lot of different elements. All right. Delton's question was just about who is active and who is not. All right. Their third quarterback is Nathan Peterman. Noah Sewell, the rookie linebacker, he did not practice most of the week, so that's not a surprise. DB Quindell Johnson, defensive lineman Dominic Robinson, who I liked coming out of Miami. My friend Devin Jackson, who writes for the Philadelphia Inquirer, was really high on him. Running back Deonta Foreman, so expect a lot of Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson tonight. Cornerback Tyreek Stevenson, second round pick. A little bit of a surprise there. I don't know if he's injured. He wasn't on the injury report all week. The offensive lineman Larry Borum. Those are your guys out. As I didn't realize David already clipped it from their Twitter feed. Yeah, very interesting. I'm excited to kind of see what Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson are going to do against this defense. I like both players. I don't think they're great. I like them, and I'm interested to see what they have. All right, Dave, number 2, utilize the screen game. I really think the Vikings need to do a better job with their screen game. And I'll say this, when you talk about screens, a lot of times people will see tight end screens and they'll be like, why are we calling that? Like, what in the world? Screen games, when you call screens, it's like a chess match. All right. It's setups. So you ever played Madden and all of a sudden you run like a few plays and then you hear like that noise and then all of a sudden you have a setup play? Well, that setup play a lot of times can be a screen because you're getting guys to come forward and attack aggressively, and then you throw a screen right behind him, and then that can gash for 20 yards. And it's a low risk play because you're not throwing the ball far down the field, and you're just letting your talented playmakers make plays with the ball. The Vikings need to do a better job with their screen game. They can actually run screens pretty well. And I'm very intrigued to kind of see how things progress moving forward. But they have to be able to attack better with screens. And tight end screens can work, but I'm not just talking tight end screens. I'm talking running back screens. I'm talking like fullback screens with CJ Ham, wide receiver screens. They just need to be better on an overall level. And they have the ability to do it. They've shown great aptitude for the screen game, but they need to be better and more consistent. I do want to answer Josue's question before we move on here, Dave. Wouldn't you want to blitz Justin Fields when he struggles reading defenses? So that's a complicated answer. If he was a pocket passer, I think you'd want to do that more. But here's the catch. If you blitz, if he escapes, he can kill you with his legs. And he ran for, I think, either 1,000 yards or close to 1,000 yards last season. If you blitz too much with those kind of quarterbacks, they can just beat you with their legs. They don't even have to worry about reading defenses because all they have to do is evade the blitz and make plays. So when you're facing a guy like Fields, you have to be cognizant of his legs. If he struggles reading defenses, make him read drop 8. Make him find open receivers. So I can completely understand where you're coming from. Oh, he struggles with like pocket presence, reading defenses. Let's send the house. But if he finds the guy or if he escapes, that's when you're going to have a lot of issues. And you have to be able to parse those things out. I don't know if it's going to be as simple as like they're going to send some zero blitzes at him. But you have to be careful with how you do it because of the running element. Somebody asked, I think it was Dave, is Kyrus Tonga playing? Yes. It was a surprise add to the injury report on Saturday afternoon with a knee. So he had not been on the injury report all week and then appearing late. Usually that means a guy's not going to play. Happened with Christian Darrisaw. Happened with DJ Wanham. It's happened with Jordan Hicks. Like a lot of times that's illness, which means flu bug. But this was a knee and it was very interesting. He is going to play. And I'm very curious to kind of see what that ends up looking like. But let's kind of continue on because the screen game, there's not a whole lot to talk about there without like really breaking down film, which I obviously do in my spare time, but we're not going to be doing that here because look, the Vikings kick off in 45 minutes. So this isn't the time for that really nitty gritty breakdown stuff. All right. Number 3, be more aggressive at the catch point. And that's something that hindered the Vikings against the Denver Broncos. Okay. Like at the catch point, the Vikings struggled. You can look at TJ Hawkinson. You can look at Mekhi Blackman. You need to be able to attack with the football in the air. Hawkinson shockingly poor this year with contested catches. The stat I read from PFF, 6 of 28 this year on contested catches.
Unlike
Dave.
last year.
Last year, so maybe it was 8 of 28. This year he's at like 28.7%. Last year, just with the Vikings, he was at 57%. Overall, he was at 55. So he's half as effective in contested catch situations this year. That's like the vibes that you're feeling are very frustrating because he's shown the aptitude to be able to do this consistently, and he's done it consistently. You can't expect like a 55% contested catch rate is good. You'd like it to be higher, but it's hard to get contested catches because you're fighting with somebody else. Being able to win at over 1 out of 2, over 50% is awesome. It's awesome. You want to be able to continue that. And Blackman not being in position and Josh Metellus not being in position. Those are objectively bad spots. TJ Hawkinson not being able to pull down contested catches at the end of the game. You're paying him to be able to bring those in. He's doing a lot of great things.
Yeah, but like I said, his ribs are messed up.
Even so, you're paying him to bring those in. He should have brought one of those in. I'm not even asking for both. I'm asking for one of the two. He should have brought at least one of those in. And he didn't. And you can point to the ribs. But like I said, I'm not even saying both. I'm just saying one. Even with the ribs, he should have been able to bring in one. We need more from him. We need him to be able to bring in those tough catches. And if he can't bring in those tough catches, then it's going to be really tough for this team here moving forward. Now, it'll be a lot easier when Justin Jefferson comes back, because Jefferson coming back opens up a multitude of avenues for this team. And that's a net positive. I'm really intrigued to kind of see where things end up going and how we continue to grow and adapt. But that's the deal. That's where we're at. And he's got to be able to catch those. End of story.
Hey, I'm seeing a lot of new names and faces in the chat, and we love having you here. Mr. Hios, your avatar is absolutely fantastic.
Well, I want to address this. Fat Lips Jr. That's a cool name. Cool username. Thank you for joining us. It's the first time I've seen you here. So we're grateful to have you. So here's the thing about the healthy scratch for JJ. It's not really a healthy scratch. It's making sure he's full go with the hamstring. Because as frustrating as it is to have him out, if he were to have come back last week and re-injured the hamstring, was out another 4 weeks, we'd all be just livid. And we'd be criticizing the Vikings. Why did you let him come back? Why in the world didn't you wait until he was fully healthy? There is no great answer to these injury questions. There just isn't. And I'm okay with him waiting another 2 weeks. He started to do the full sprint, and it's not just about how he's looking in practice. It's about how he feels the next day. It's about how that hamstring is responding to these different things, to how he's practicing. Because that's the important thing. How is your body responding? And I don't think that they liked how it was responding enough. If the Vikings didn't have a bye next week, I think they may be more apt to try and play him. But with a bye next week, you're going to give an extra 2 weeks. The Vikings are 5-1 without him. So it's not like we're just so desperate to have him back. We've been okay. We'll be okay. So I'm
we'll
okay with that.
We'll discuss that live at the 2-minute warning.
Yeah,
they did report that JJ did hit his top speed this last week in practice. But yes, it's all how he feels the next day. And they do track him. They have electronic trackers on them.
Mm-hmm. Chris, thank you for joining live. We're excited to have you. We're here every Monday night at this time. This week just happens to be a pregame show, which is a little extra fun. So, two more keys to this game, and we'll continue answering your questions in the chat. Eclair is doing. Oh, here she's coming up. Okay, it's okay, honey. All right, we're gonna adjust. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, she's struggling a little bit. You can kind of see she's shaking a little bit. Yeah, she's going through it, but she also believes in these Minnesota Vikings, don't you, honey? Yeah, you do. All right, number 4, use Josh Dobbs' mobility on the edge. I'm not saying you need to run Josh Dobbs and call a lot of these designed runs for him. That's not it. Use the mobility, RPOs, bootlegs. Do more of that. He's shown the capability to be really good at it. I want to see more of it. I want to see them attack. I want to see them get him on the move and do things. They can do that. Okay. Honey, you're okay. Shh. Oh, you need to go down. Okay.
No,
yeah, she struggles to see a little bit too and really understand where she is with the seizure medication. So like when she needs to go, she wants to go. Yep. But Odie's being a good big brother. So,
Jacob, they've always been there. The new camera gives it a truer color, I believe, to what you're seeing, and you may be able to see them better that
really
way.
are sandy colored.
Yeah, it blew my mind because before I'm like, "Weren't your walls white?" He goes, "No, this is the actual color."
Yeah, it is the actual color. Yes, Dr. Proto, Eclair is a very good dog, but she's just going through it right now, and she's gonna get stuck. Oh boy, we're gonna have an interesting dog here because she doesn't know where she is. But the thing is, like, look at the touchdown against the Broncos last week, where it was the rollout, and then the defender came and tried to sack him, and he shook him off, and he was patient. Oliver turns around, opens up, touchdown. Do more of that. I don't like sprint right options because it takes away more than half the field, and it really limits what you can do. But you can do bootlegs. You can do throwbacks. And that's why I defended the toss play to Dobbs last week, because it was something to set up a play down the line. They are going to run some kind of throwback or counter action to what that play was, because they only have that one instance on tape, and it's going to get a team. And hopefully it's the Detroit Lions. And they're going to be able to throw off of it. And they're going to be able to take advantage down the field. And I think that's a net positive. I think that's what you're looking at. That's why you want to do some of those things. And I'm really excited to kind of see the Vikings try to do more of some of those things as Odie is trying to bark to play. Nope, buddy. No. Boy. Yeah, you're just a turkey. And doing some of that is a net positive because you want to set teams up. The story that I always tell is they were interviewing Ed Reed and Peyton Manning, and I apologize. That is Odie barking. He just wants to play with Eclair, and I'm gonna have to keep him busy with my foot so he doesn't. Ed Reed told Peyton Manning, because Peyton Manning was pissed about an interception that Ed Reed got off of him. He's like, I read the defense perfectly. We had the play called for it. And then you just picked me off. And I was pissed. He's like, oh, that's because multiple games during the year, I intentionally botched coverages so I could intercept you later on. And that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. We're talking about these guys live and breathe football. They are looking for ways to take advantage of you. All right. And by taking advantage of you, they're able to get wins. They're able to do X, Y, and Z. Well, one of the ways you can take advantage of them is the counterpunch. Oh, we have this going on. Okay. Well, then when TJ Hawkinson goes under center, oh, they're going to call that pitch. They're going to call that pitch. They're going to call that pitch. Well, guess what? You pitch it, and then all of a sudden, Josh Oliver leaks out, and you run a screen to the backside. Mom just came home. You run a screen to the backside. Well, guess what? When you run the screen to the backside, nobody's going to be there because they're all going to crash the far side, the front side of the play. And then all of a sudden, Josh Oliver is going to have two offensive linemen also sneak out, and they're going to have a clean field to run down. That's why those plays are important. It's not so much about the success of it in time. Yeah, you want it to be successful. And it would have been if Dalton Reisner was able to get that block, and you were able to see little things like, oh, hey, babe, she's under here. She's hanging out. You were able to get a penalty called on Kareem Jackson. That dirty hit. Like, it stinks that the play didn't work, but sometimes it's about the execution rather than the design. You could make the argument, oh, it was too cutesy. But when Kevin O'Connell gets creative later in the year and builds off of that, that's when you could take advantage. And that's why those plays are important. All right. Last key of the game. Attack deep with Jordan Addison. This team likes to do cover two quarters. Jordan Addison has multiple touchdowns on deep posts this year. He's got 3 of 4 deep posts targeted to him for, I think it's almost 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. guess what? Let's bring it back. Let's do it again. Get Addison going deep. You don't trust this Bears defensive line to generate consistent pressure. Montez Sweat has been good for them the past 2 weeks. But are they going to be able to be consistent with it? We'll find out. I think you need to try and attack deep, push, and stretch out these defensive backs. Because right now, who knows? Like, they're going to be without Tyreek Stevenson, and you can attack them. And that's what I want to see. I want to see them attack vertically because they didn't do any of that against Denver. And I think that's fine. I really do. Because against Denver, they were generating a ton of pressure up front. And when you're generating a ton of pressure, how are you supposed to attack down the field? You got to attack short and intermediate. Well, good. Claire, you found your way out. Good girl. And when you attack short and intermediate, you have to be able to get a lot of yards after the catch. And they were able to get some of that, but it just wasn't that effective. The Broncos played a very good defensive game. And I want to see more. I want to see more deep shots. I want to see more attacking down the field. And I think they can do that. And if they do that, I think the Vikings have a really good chance to generate a lot of explosive plays and win this football game. So those are my 5 keys. Contain Justin Fields in the pocket, utilize the screen game, be more aggressive at the catch point on both sides of the ball, Josh Dobbs' mobility around the edge and utilize it, and attack deep with Jordan Addison. What do you think, Dave?
That don't put the football on the ground. No turnovers.
Well, if the football's not on the ground, how is Garrett Bradbury going to snap it?
No turnovers.
You didn't appreciate my joke. I feel insulted.
But
all right.
No, Dalton, they don't call the Windy City because the Bears are braced. No, this will be a tough game, and it should be fun to watch.
100%. I'm really excited for it. The Vikings don't play on Monday night too often. For work purposes, I hate it because Mondays are usually my day to kind of just get stuff out, do a lot of my post-game content. When they're on Monday nights, it's a pain in my keister. But I'll tell you, I'm never against watching a Monday night football game that's good. Last week was a lot of fun. Eagles, Chiefs. This week is going to be fun in a different way. It's going to be Vikings football. Let me tell you,
I see the best Vikings uniform tonight.
Oh, yeah. The Vikings Classic. I'm really excited for that. I think it's the second best uniform of all time, behind only, if you're looking, the Warren Moon Oilers jersey. That is the best uniform of all time, and I will not hear any arguments against it. Oh, I mean,
it's real close to that one. Now, I do believe with that, with the Classic, we may have seen the end of primetime purple, which sort of disappoints me because I thought that was a decent uniform as well.
What's the all purples?
Yeah, the purple and golds.
Oh, they'll come back. They always do. Like uniforms are cyclical. They are doing the all white, the winter whiteout again on Christmas Eve against the Detroit Lions. So they're going to have opportunities to utilize more uniforms. And I'm excited for that. I think that's going to be ultimately good.
I want to address what Chuck just said. Hitman ties Paul Krause tonight for most starts in a Minnesota Vikings uniform at a defensive back position. And big congratulations out to Hitman for that.
Yes, absolutely. Guys, I'm going to open it up to you for any questions. If you have any questions before kickoff, and then I'm going to go get myself set up for the game. Wife is home. We got to eat dinner, and I got to get my beers ready to rock and roll. We're going to have some Busch Light because it is what I like to call God's beer. And we are also going to have some orange juice in there. But I'm going to give you my score prediction. I think the Vikings are going to have a tough battle. The Bears are a good football team.
Mm-hmm.
I know we don't like them, but they're a good football team. And we have to be prepared for that. Look, I think this is going to be 27-16 Vikings. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think they're going to find a way to pull it out in the end, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
Christopher, it should be. It's ESPN, but it's also on local ABC reps.
Yep.
I get it down here on ABC.
Mm-hmm. Do Odie and Eclair have their own Vikings jerseys? No. Odie really doesn't do well with clothes. Eclair is also a 6-year-old Frenchie rescue. We never tried clothes with her because clothes are just unnatural for dogs in general. Yeah, they're cute, but it just, we weren't going to, she's been tortured enough. We weren't going to make her wear clothes. The harness is enough. Hey, sweet girl.
For those that are wondering, tonight I'm trying Redemption Weeded Bourbon.
Ooh.
First time.
Fun fact, I'm not a weeded bourbon guy. I don't like weeded bourbons. Maker's Mark. No. I like ryes. I like corn. I like blends. But weeded, no.
Forlorn best cask strength whiskeys or whiskeys you like in cask strength. It's all personal flavors.
Mm-hmm. I don't actually know if I have like a preference when it comes to cask strength. I like stuff like barrel seagrass. Seagrass is great stuff. I really do. Jacob, I know that's what it sounds like. Oh, honey.
Okay. As long as she doesn't hit the power button.
Yeah. Oh, she won't. So background for you. I've had the nickname Forno for almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years in May. Mm-hmm. She's okay. And I'll be honest, I think the genesis of the name was because it sounded like porno. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, everybody just has called me Forno. And sorry about the extra noise. Eclair is just, she's going through it. Oh, it's okay, honey. Come on. Yeah. But yeah, that's the genesis. Somebody just called me it at a football camp, and that was the end of it. I'm gonna grab her real quick, Dave.
Okay, you grab her. Do want to thank everybody that's been here. I do believe that the Vikings will pull out this game tonight. I hope. I'd love to see them score 30 points. Oh, that would be so sweet. Who's faster, KJ or Powell? That's a good question.
Powell. KJ's not that fast. He ran like a 4.6 40. Powell's like a 4.4 guy. So it would be Powell. Somebody asked earlier, Madison or Chandler getting more carries. I'm going to lean Madison, but I think Chandler he's going to creep up on snaps. It came out from both the beat writers and also the national media with Jeremy Fowler. So don't be surprised if we get a lot more Ty Chandler moving forward, especially because O'Connell was serious about, if you keep fumbling, I'll bench you. Tough part is, outside of the quarterbacks are going to fumble. It's a part of the business. But Madison's the only skill position player to fumble more than once. That's tough. Okay, so let's talk about this from our buddy Alvin, and then we're going to go because we got to get ready for this game. And I know you guys are going to need to set up your snacks, your dinner, and so do I.
Your beverage. I do like the IPA that's Dr. Proto's drinking.
There we go. Did we talk all about if Vikings get a big lead, the KOC can't get conservative? That's a really tough one. To a point, you need to go conservative. You need to be conservative, and you need to try and preserve the lead. But I think there's levels to it where you can be conservative and still relatively aggressive. And I think against the Saints, My initial vibes were that they were a little too conservative, and O'Connell even admitted it. But they also were in position to score points multiple times. One, they got a field goal. One, they missed. And one they probably should have challenged, but they didn't because of a bad challenge earlier in the game, and that would have extended a drive. I think that you need to be somewhat conservative, but you do need to also remain aggressive. And I think it's a delicate balance. But I think if the Vikings were to have actually had a good running game, I think that changes the conversation. I think that's the big key. They weren't able to be successful with the run. Because when you're up 24, you don't want to be passing the ball a lot. You want to be able to drain the clock, run the ball successfully, and still move the ball and get points. But they weren't able to run the ball at all. And I think that's the main problem. Keeping your foot on the gas is a great mantra. It's great for Madden. But if you keep your foot on the gas, well, then you could have like the 35-3 collapse by the Oilers against the Bills in the wild card round. It's a delicate balance, and I understand the frustration, and I think you're right. But I also say that you still have to execute properly, and quite frankly, they weren't executing. And T. Kubler puts it there in the chat. Kickers need to make the field goals. Players need to execute. You could be a little bit more aggressive, but overall, I think it's fine. You just got to execute. And I think that's the big thing. Last thing, Freddie asked for our predictions. I gave mine. I said 27-16 Vikings. Dave, what's your prediction?
I'm going 31-10.
Little more optimistic to me. All right.
Biggest rout since before 2017 or 2019.
There we go. All right, guys, I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. Don't forget, live at the 2-minute warning, we will be back. Missy Claire won't be here, but she's going to say hi anyways. Hi.
Shouldn't have posted that.
Yeah, she's a little drugged, but that's because she's on some controlled substances right now. They're all prescriptions, but it's hard with seizures. But she loves you. And we love you guys too. And thank you very much for joining. Be here at the 2-minute warning for the post-game show, which starts earlier than everybody else. I will be on in time. Dave will be there from start to finish. And we'll have others on as well, including Justin.
Mm-hmm.
From Dave, I'm Tyler. We'll see you at the 2-minute warning. And as always, enjoy the game and SKOL Vikings.
SKOL Vikings. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching the Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone.